This is the Rode VideoMic NTG, and it's been my main video mic for about 2 years now. And this is the Rode VideoMic GO II. So compared to the NTG, let's see if the GO II will be the new GO II microphone. Go to find out. And as I'm talking into these microphones throughout this video, I'll be sure to put on screen which one you're listening to, so that way you can decide how you think they sound compared to each other. And I'm going to start by going over the features and some of the basics, and then we'll get into the sound quality and why they might sound different and what the strengths and weaknesses are of each. But first, Rode did send me the VideoMic GO II for free. I don't have to make a video about it. I actually didn't even know they were sending it to me, so that was nice. It went down the road and showed up at my house. And I had seen some reviews about it, and I thought it was pretty interesting, especially because I have been using the NTG for a couple of years now. So I'm excited to check it out. I've used it for a few weeks on a few different projects, and there are a lot of things that I really like about the Rode VideoMic GO II. So let's talk about some of the features and some of the basics. As you can probably see, especially if I take it off of this little tripod here, this is a very, very tiny little microphone, and that is, I think, a benefit. It has basically the exact same shock mount as the VideoMic NTG. In fact, I thought it was the same, but this one is slightly smaller. And this base part here is made out of plastic, whereas on the VideoMic NTG, it's made out of metal, and it is a little bit longer. And the bottom of the microphone has the same accessory shoe clip along with a 3/8 inch hole in it. You might need a little adapter to attach it to a 1/4-20 mount if that's what you're using, like on a little tripod or something. It's exactly the same as the VideoMic NTG and even previous incarnations of the VideoMic. This does come after the original VideoMic Go, which had an MSRP of $60 and was a really good deal. It was smaller than this, equally as simple, and gave pretty good sound quality. This microphone has an MSRP of $100, so it's more expensive, but it also has some killer features and I think significantly better sound quality. The original VideoMic Go sounded really good if you were really close to it. So if you're just gonna put it on your camera and like hold the camera close to you and talk to it, it was gonna sound pretty good. But as soon as you started putting distance between yourself and the microphone, it started to sound less good. If you're using the microphone like I often do, where it's boomed overhead, this right now, you're not listening to this. This is a second VideoMic NTG because I like it so much. I said, oh gee, I'm gonna get 2 NTGs. And they didn't cost 2 Gs. Anyway, if you put this microphone on your camera, it is very small and compact. In fact, I would call it downright adorable because it's super cute. That's nice because when you add a big microphone to your camera, it does become more of a hassle to carry around. And unfortunately, once you put a big microphone on your camera, this is the VideoMic Pro Plus with a dead cat windscreen on it, this also starts to grab attention really quickly. For some reason, if you go somewhere and you just have your camera, nobody cares. But as soon as you have a microphone on top of your camera, people oftentimes start asking questions, and that's annoying. So anything that helps minimize that while still letting you get good sound quality is a good thing in my book. And this just connects to your camera with a 3.5mm cable, just like pretty much every video mic ever. And just like its bigger sibling, it does come with a windscreen included in the box, which does help with plosives. So without that, there's, Peter Piper pitched a podcast. If I pop this on, Peter Piper pitched a podcast. If you're going to be doing a lot of work outdoors or in super windy conditions, you can also get the WS12, which is a dead cat windscreen. It's actually a super high quality one, pretty much the same that you would get for any of the bigger video mics. Obviously, it is going to increase the size of the microphone, but then Peter Piper pitched a podcast. Even if you're right up on that thing, there's no plosives going to get through here, proving those plosives powerless. And just like its bigger brother or sister, the actual microphone does come out of the shock mount, and then you can just have the microphone by itself. Here's some differences. Obviously, the size of the microphones, but the VideoMic GO II is made out of plastic. It is still made in Australia, but it's made out of plastic. The VideoMic NTG is made out of metal and also made in Australia, just like all of Rode's microphones. It's still pretty durable. Rode has a good reputation for durability in their products, but obviously plastic is not going to be as durable as metal. Now on the microphone itself, there is really nothing. You got 2 jacks. You have a 3.5mm jack and a USB-C jack, which is super cool. We'll talk about that later. And that's pretty much it. You got the Rode logo, little gold dot there. On the VideoMic NTG, you still get your gold Rode dot, but you also have some controls on here. You have a high pass filter and a low pass filter. You have pads and boosts for your volume, and you also have the ability to record a safety channel where one side of your audio is going to be recorded at a lower volume than the other. In case you start clipping your audio, you can just use the audio from the one side. And the VideoMic NTG has my favorite feature, which is just a physical gain dial. So all the way from 1 to 15, you can adjust the gain. The other video mics don't have this, and I absolutely love it. And that's one of the things that drew me to the VideoMic NTG in the first place. And there are little markers on the body of the microphone to tell you where to position these clips so that way they don't interfere with anything. And one of the coolest things about the VideoMic GO II, I think, is that it does not have any kind of batteries. That's a pro and a con, but it's largely a pro because you have nothing to think about. You don't have to charge it. You don't have to worry about it. The only thing I don't like about the VideoMic NTG is the fact that it does have a battery that you can't replace. So once this battery, which does last a really long time, starts losing its ability to hold a charge, you're just kind of done and you have to replace the microphone. Fortunately, I've been using the VideoMic NTG for 2 years and the battery life so far hasn't changed at all. So I don't know how long it's going to take to start lowering down, but after 2 years, it's still like new. But the disadvantage to not having a battery in the GO II is that you're probably going to then need to boost the gain from your camera. Whenever you're using an external mic with your camera, it's always a good idea to keep your camera's audio levels as low as possible. Don't trust the auto volume on your camera or the auto gain because it usually doesn't work that well. You want to make sure your camera, whatever model you're using, is in manual audio, and then you adjust the gain level. Make sure you have your audio meters on screen. It's a good idea to kind of average out your volume at around the -12 mark on your cameras, usually like an actual mark there on your broadcast meters. But when you're using a mic like the NTG that has its own built-in battery or power source, you'll find that you probably don't need to boost the gain on your camera as much. The lower your camera's gain is, the less noise there's going to be in your signal. Once you start boosting your camera's gain, that's where you're going to start noticing noise in your microphone. So the VideoMic GO II, since it doesn't have a battery, probably is going to need slightly higher gain, and depending on your camera and the quality of your camera's preamps, you could start noticing some noise and some hiss in your signal. Totally depends on your camera though. So let's talk about why the VideoMic GO II is really interesting for me. A couple of weeks ago, I made a video about this microphone right here, which is the Sennheiser MKH50. This is a professional level microphone that has been used in movies and TV shows very regularly for the last like 30 years. It's an XLR microphone, so you need some different equipment usually to make it work with your camera. But I guarantee you, you've heard many TV shows and many movies where audio has been captured with this microphone. In that video, I compare this $1,200 super professional legendary microphone up against the VideoMic NTG, which has an MSRP of $250. And what wasn't a surprise to me was that the Sennheiser microphone, the more expensive, more professional microphone, sounded better. It's an objectively a better sounding microphone. But it did not sound $1,000 better. And I was really impressed by how well the VideoMic NTG held up to the Sennheiser MKH50. The reputation of this microphone and the quality of this microphone let me know that it's not overpriced and it's not like, oh, this expensive microphone is really only as good as a cheaper one. What that tells me is that this less expensive microphone is punching way above its weight class, and it sounds so good. It's really just been one of my favorite values all around for just using a video mic, and up until I got the Sennheiser for about 2 years, this was my main microphone I used whenever I needed a microphone that wasn't in the frame. So the spoiler here is that the more expensive, more fully featured microphone sounds better than the cheaper, less featured microphone. That's probably not a shock, but how much better? With an MSRP of $99, the VideoMic GO II might actually be an awesome option. Now that size difference between these microphones does translate over to weight. The VideoMic GO II weighs 89 grams, while the VideoMic NTG weighs 154 grams. They're both pretty lightweight microphones, but the smaller, more compact VideoMic GO II is lighter and more compact. Another big difference is that even though both of these microphones have a 3.5mm jack on them, the VideoMic NTG has an auto sensing jack, which basically means it can tell if you're plugging in a TRS cable or a TRRS cable. And what that means is you can plug the VideoMic NTG directly into a smartphone and it'll work just fine. With the VideoMic GO II, you'll need a TRS to TRRS adapter in order to use it with a smartphone or a tablet or something like that. Now, I did mention that they both have USB-C ports. On the VideoMic NTG, that's how you charge the microphone, but on both of these, that also lets them be used as USB microphones. So both of them have USB functionality, which is super cool. And even though the VideoMic GO II doesn't have the same physical features as the VideoMic NTG, Once you have it connected via USB, it's super easy to use. It's just plug and play. You can select it with whatever application you're using. But if you're using with the Rode Connect app, then you do open up kind of a new world of EQ and options, and some of the stuff that's physically on the NTG, then you can do through software on the VideoMic GO II. The Rode Connect app is relatively new, but they're updating it constantly, and it keeps becoming more compatible with more models of Rode microphones, and it has more functionality. It's quickly becoming like a virtual Rodecaster, and that's really awesome. And when either microphone is connected via USB, then that 3.5mm jack can also be used as a headphone monitoring output, so that way you can listen to your audio with zero latency. A lot of times if you plug your headphones into your computer when you have a USB mic connected, then you have to wait and see because of the latency, and it kind of breaks your brain. I've actually been using the VideoMic GO II as a USB microphone quite a bit. The sound quality is every bit as good as it is going into a camera, if not even better, because you're not relying on a camera's preamps. But it's been really helpful because this microphone is so small, so I just keep it in a drawer next to my desk, and there have been a lot of times where I'm editing a video and I realize I forgot to say something, so I need to do like a quick voiceover, and I can just grab this microphone and quickly add a voiceover to Final Cut Pro, which, by the way, if you didn't know, you can press, what is it? Control-Command-8 in Final Cut Pro, and it will bring up the voiceover dialog box where you can just select whatever microphone you have connected or interface. So in this case, I just select the VideoMic GO II, and then you just press record, and you can record new audio directly into your Final Cut project. You don't have to like record and input and transfer and do all that. It'll just go straight into the timeline. And the VideoMic GO II has become my go-to for that. Even when I'm using something like the Sennheiser MKH50 in the video, it's not a perfect match, but in the world of YouTube, when I'm just trying to convey some information, it's more than fine. And if you're really close to the VideoMic GO II, the sound quality is pretty phenomenal. But of course, that is kind of an unfair advantage because most microphones, if you're really close to them, they're going to sound pretty darn good. So the longer length of the VideoMic NTG does make it a little more directional, and it does give it a little bit more reach. So it does work pretty well as an out-of-frame microphone. The shorter form factor of the VideoMic GO II makes it so it picks up a little more sound. It's not quite as directional, and it's not quite as good at having as much reach to pick up sound from further away. But we can talk about the directionality. So this is the VideoMic GO II. It's really close to me. If I start turning it off axis, you can kind of hear how my voice changes. And then as I turn around the microphone, it's gonna, not sound great. If you have it on your camera and you're standing behind your camera talking, this is what that would sound like. And then we come back around to me over here. We'll do the same thing with the VideoMic NTG. So if I go off axis, you can kind of hear how directional it might be. And then if I turn the microphone around, you can sort of hear how my voice changes as I go to the back of the microphone. So again, if this were on your camera and you were pointing and talking, this is what that would sound like. However, one of the things I like to do with the NTG is just have it on my camera like normal. But if I'm doing a video where then I need to talk, I just quickly turn it around. And then I can just use the gain dial to adjust it a little bit. So usually it's like 4 numbers lower than when it's facing forward. And I just use that physical gain dial, one of my favorite features ever, and flip back and forth. I've used that so many times when I'm doing like studio tours and setup videos and things where I'm just talking behind the camera and it ends up sounding like a high quality voiceover, even though I literally just recorded it while I was filming, and it makes the workflow so much easier. There are also microphones, of course, that actually have capsules on both sides so you can pick up audio from the front and the back, but I don't do that enough to need a whole microphone specifically for it. Now, I am giving both of these microphones an unfair advantage by using them in close proximity in a relatively well-treated space. So it'll probably be a good idea to test these out how I normally would in this, because normally I don't have the microphone right here. If I'm using a microphone in front of my face, it's probably going to be a higher quality like broadcast microphone running through the Rodecaster or something like that. So most of the time when I'm in here, I have one of these microphones up on a boom pole just out of frame. So now we can test how that sounds. This is the VideoMic NTG close to me and in the frame. This is the VideoMic NTG positioned out of frame. This is the VideoMic GO II close to me in the frame. This is the VideoMic GO II positioned out of frame. So you can probably hear a bit of difference. And I will say at this point, especially with the VideoMic NTG, I know that it is an amazing sounding microphone. And really the only limiting factor is me. And it's me getting my settings right and me positioning the microphone correctly. So if you're hearing any weird frequencies like sound bouncing off of the desk here or something, that's me. That's not necessarily the microphone. But it is a really important point to bring up when we're talking about any microphone. If you're buying some super cheap piece of garbage, then it might just be a bad sounding microphone. But if you're buying at least a relatively decent microphone, like either of these, it's really gonna come down to how you're using it, the way you have the settings set up, and maybe even most importantly, how the microphone is positioned in your environment. In fact, we should probably do some super scientific testing outside to see what these sound like when they're mounted on a camera at a somewhat far distance. So here's a super scientific test where I am outdoors, kind of within arm's reach of the microphones. This is the VideoMic NTG that you're listening to, and now this is the VideoMic GO II. You know this is a scientific test because there's a lab coat. And now I haven't changed anything, but I'm about, I don't know, 8 feet away from the microphones. This is the VideoMic NTG, and this is the VideoMic GO II, and now I will go to way over here. This is the NTG, it probably sounds bad. This is the GO II, it probably also sounds bad. And then this is, you know, as if I were holding the camera to like vlog with it. This is the VideoMic NTG, and this is the VideoMic GO II. So now you can see which one sounds best for you. All right. Look at that guy. Now, hopefully throughout this video, you've been listening at the differences between the two microphones and deciding what you like and what you don't like. And ultimately what it comes down to is exactly that, your personal preference. There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. If you like it and it works for you, then it's great. If I had to give a recommendation, what I would say is the VideoMic NTG is really just about my favorite overall value. It's a really well-built microphone, it's a great sounding microphone, and at $250 for all of the features that it has and the quality of it, I think it's really worth it. And even though I'm a big believer in the idea of investing in equipment that's going to help out your workflow and increase the quality of your work, sometimes there are realities of budget constraints, or you might just be somebody who wants a good microphone, but you don't want to invest $250 in a microphone. Maybe you're not going to use it that often, whatever. In that case, the thing that I love most about the VideoMic GO II is it gives me a go-to recommendation when people ask that exact question. If you're needing to level up your audio, and you're on a budget, for $100, you're gonna get a great sounding microphone, you're gonna get a well-built microphone, and you're gonna get a microphone with USB functionality so you can even use it when it's not just connected to your camera. If you can stretch your budget further, I do think you're gonna be better served by the VideoMic NTG, but I don't think you're gonna regret the VideoMic GO II if that's the one that you choose to go to. That's just like the easiest joke to make. And speaking of things that are easy to go to, thank you to everyone who helps support my channel through Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. And if you want to know more about these microphones, check out my Sennheiser MKH50 review and my NTG review.